OpenAI just signed the most expensive infrastructure deal in AI history, and it's not even software. I'm Chuck Getchell. This is AI in 10. What happened, why it matters, what you can do with it. Let's go. So let's set the stage here. Today, OpenAI locked in a 20-year lease for a massive AI data center in Ohio. We're talking 8 gigawatts of power capacity. And Nvidia is backing the whole thing with up to $105 billion in guarantees. $105 billion. That number is so large it almost stops making sense, which honestly is kind of the point. Let's break this down in plain English, because this is genuinely one of those stories where the scale changes how you think about AI. First, what is a gigawatt? A gigawatt is a unit of electrical power. A single gigawatt can power roughly 750,000 American homes. OpenAI's new Ohio facility is designed to handle 8 of them. That's enough electricity to power around 6 million homes running continuously for 20 years. Except instead of powering homes, it will power AI. Specifically, the servers that train and run the AI models that are increasingly woven into how we work, communicate, and make decisions. That is not a software story anymore. That is an infrastructure story. That is an energy story. That is closer to building a network of power plants than launching an app update. Now let's talk about Nvidia's role here, because it's fascinating. Nvidia isn't just selling chips to OpenAI in this deal, they're guaranteeing the assets, up to $105 billion worth, which means they're essentially co-signing the financial risk of the whole project. And in exchange, Nvidia becomes the exclusive chip supplier for the entire facility, for 20 years. That's less like a business deal and more like a marriage. A very expensive marriage with a prenup written in semiconductors. Think about what this means for Nvidia. They're not just the hottest chip company in the world right now. They're becoming something closer to a strategic financier of the entire AI economy. They're using their financial muscle to lock in hardware contracts that will span 2 decades. That's a level of market power we haven't seen in the tech industry before. It's the kind of move that makes the word monopoly start bouncing around in conversations in Washington and Brussels and probably a few other capitals. The initial phase of the project is planned at about 4.25 gigawatts. Supporting that is roughly $33 billion in new gas-fired power plant investments. Yes, you heard that right. To power this AI facility, they are building new gas plants. This isn't plugging a server rack into the wall. This is building the wall, the building, and the power grid from scratch. Here's a number that will stick with you. Industry analysts are now tracking about 9 major tech companies that collectively have around $3 trillion in AI-related financial commitments that don't show up on traditional balance sheets. $3 trillion off the books. In the tech world, off-balance sheet is a phrase that should always make your eyebrows go up just a little. What this tells us is that the biggest players in AI are not just competing on models and features. They are competing for energy, land, and long-term infrastructure. AI is becoming heavy industry. AI is becoming heavy industry, and that changes everything. So why does this matter to you? Let's make this personal. If you live in Ohio or nearby, this is already your story. A project at this scale brings jobs. Real jobs, construction, engineering, operations, facility management, security. It also brings questions about your electricity grid, your air quality, and what it means when a private company builds something that draws more power than a small city. Those are legitimate questions worth paying attention to at the local level. But even if you're nowhere near Ohio, this affects you. Here's how. OpenAI is pre-booking compute capacity for the next 20 years. That means they are making a very large, very expensive bet that AI is going to keep getting bigger, more capable, and more central to how the world works. When a company signs a 20-year lease on 8 gigawatts of power, they're not doing that for a product they think might go away. They're doing it because they believe, with their entire financial future, that AI will be as foundational as electricity itself. That means more features in the tools you already use, smarter assistants, more capable writing tools, better translation, more automation in customer service, healthcare, finance, and education. The compute being reserved in Ohio is the engine behind the AI products that will shape your work life over the next decade. Now here's the tension. When a small number of companies control this much compute, that's a concentration of power that doesn't have many historical parallels. Whoever controls the chips and the power controls what AI gets built, how fast and for whom. That's worth thinking about, whether you're an individual user, a small business owner, or someone who just wants to understand where the world is heading. This isn't fear-mongering, it's just what happens when trillion-dollar infrastructure gets concentrated in a few hands. The same conversation happened with railroads in the 1800s, with oil in the early 1900s, and with internet infrastructure in the 1990s. AI is following a very familiar historical pattern, just faster and with better graphics. So what's the one actionable thing you can take from this today? Here it is. Treat AI proficiency like a career asset, because OpenAI just spent $105 billion telling you it's not going anywhere. That sounds abstract, so let me get specific. Pick one task you do at work every week that is repetitive or time-consuming. One thing. Maybe it's drafting emails. Maybe it's summarizing documents. Maybe it's putting together a weekly report. This week, try doing that task with an AI assistant. Use ChatGPT, use Claude, use whatever you have access to. Give it a real shot. Not a quick test where you decide it didn't read your mind perfectly and move on. An actual serious attempt. Why does this matter right now? Because deals like this one are a signal. A 20-year signal. The companies building and deploying AI are not hedging. They are committing at a scale that makes wait and see an increasingly risky personal strategy. The people who are going to do best in the next few years are not necessarily the most technical. They're the ones who figured out how to work alongside AI tools effectively. The ones who can lead that adoption on their team, in their business, in their classroom. You don't need to understand how GPS work. You need to understand how AI can work for you. And if you want to go deeper than experimenting on your own, our Applied AI certification is built for exactly this moment. Non-technical people who want a real credential, not just a curiosity. It takes you from beginner to confident and gives you something to show for it. Here's the big takeaway. When a company signs a 20-year 8-gigawatt lease backed by $105 billion in guarantees, it's no longer asking whether AI will be central to the future, it's just deciding what the future looks like. The question for the rest of us is whether we're going to be part of shaping that answer, or just living with whatever someone else decided. AI is no longer just an app on your phone. It's physical, it's industrial, it's already being built into the ground beneath Ohio. And every one of us, worker, business owner, parent, student, has a stake in how this plays out. That's today's AI in 10. If you want to go deeper and learn AI with a community of people just like you, join us at aihammock.com. I'll see you tomorrow, my friends.